there's only one thing you need to do mentally to finally stop procrastinating on committing and going all in with your diet to get in the best shape of your life. Now, I know that you're not a procrastinator. There's probably a lot of areas of your life where you do take a lot of action, but part of what's caused you to have a lot of resistance to actually get fit is probably the same reason that I took over a year to finally commit to this process. It was the fact that I perceived it to be a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be, or than it actually was. And on top of that, I also didn't want to have to be in cutting mode. Because here's the thing, is that when you do a diet, especially some of the really restrictive diets like keto and all that stuff, you can start to notice that your muscles get flat, your energy levels go down, you feel really hungry. Now, other people on keto, maybe they get great results, but 95% of Muslims, keto is very difficult because your family's eating carbs and you're just struggling. However, even when you do things the right way that I teach, that I find works better for 95% of people, you're still gonna get a little bit flat, okay? You're still gonna not feel as strong and energetic in the gym as when you were bulking. Now, that being said though, if you've been eating like a glutton and a bunch of unhealthy food, you're actually gonna feel better, you're gonna have more energy, you're gonna have more muscular fullness, but there are gonna be moments where you feel the symptoms of cutting mode, meaning a little bit hungry, a little bit tired. Again, we do things the right way to minimize that, but I wouldn't be honest with you guys if I said that you're gonna feel 100% amazing 100% of the time while you're cutting. There's definitely gonna be times while you're cutting where you don't feel good, and you have to really be ready for that so that you don't end up falling into inconsistency, dropping off everything else. But again, this is probably one thing that stopped you from like committing and going all in with this process already, is the fact that you perceive it to be more difficult than it's going to be because of some of the stuff you've done in the past, but also the fact that even when you do things the right way, there's going to be some adversity along the journey. And in a recent video, I did talk about how embracing adversity and suffering and pain is actually one of the easiest ways to make your life easier. Actually, it's one of the hardest ways to make your life easier. No, I'm just kidding. It's hard for 5 to 10 minutes, but then after that, it becomes easy and you wonder what took you so long to get started because it's so easy. So I'm going to tell you exactly what you can expect. The first day of the diet is the hardest. The first 3 days are hard, then it becomes easy. Then week 3 or 4, things get a little bit hard again, and then things are pretty smooth for another 2 months, relatively speaking. There's always little nuances that happen on a daily basis that may be a challenge for you, but overall, that's kind of what you can expect. But then after 3 to 6 months, then the results start slowing down and things get really hard again. And so you have to know how to do a reverse diet to fix and boost your metabolism again and then get back on the diet. So, and I have videos on my channel on how to do that. I can attach them at the end if you've been chronically dieting for a while and you've been stuck in a plateau. But when you do things the right way, it's not that hard, but it still requires you to commit and go all in. But what I have to tell you right now is that you're gonna have to do it eventually. And if you're anything like me, maybe you've told yourself, oh, when I'm done with this, when I'm done with that, when I have a little more time, etc. And yeah, I get it. If you're traveling internationally and then you're going to Hajj and then all this and all that, maybe you do have some legitimate reasons not to start now. However, I've had clients who were in that situation who still, mashallah, committed. I had a client who was working full-time, just became a new dad, and then he was also going to grad school to level up his career even further, even though he was working full-time as an aerospace engineer and had a new baby, and he still committed and got crazy results. 41 pounds in 9 months, got absolutely shredded. Brother safe. You guys saw me post him a while back. So there are people who have it harder than you who are still winning and succeeding. So I don't want you to fall into any sort of limiting beliefs that are going to cause you to procrastinate and limit your success. So at the end of the day, if you're watching this right now and you've been procrastinating on doing your diet, take this as a sign that Allah put this video on your feed, that maybe it's time to start questioning some of your excuses, some of your delays, some of the reasons why you've told yourself you can't or that you shouldn't or that now is not the right time. And I encourage you, just for your own sake, just reflect and think, can I figure out 1 or 2 reasons why right now is the perfect time? I've been wanting this for a while. I've been wanting to do this for years. I have this even more adverse thing coming up. I'll tell you one thing that motivated me to really start taking things seriously was the fact that my mother-in-law was coming in a week, and the previous time that she had come and stayed with us, I had gained a bunch of weight and I'd gotten fat. And so I was really scared I was gonna get even fatter, and I was already fat. So I was like, okay, let me just do a week of really strict dieting. So the first day was the hardest, but after 3 days, I was used to tracking my macros. I was used to cutting. My energy levels actually went up. My pumps in the gym were still great. Yeah, sometimes I feel a bit hungry, but you guys know, like I teach you the little mini strategies like incorporating cucumbers and Greek yogurt and fruit and, watermelon and some of these very low calorie foods, strawberries, these very low calorie foods that are actually quite filling, really help me to not cave in if I felt tired or hungry between meals, right? And I went to a very sharp deficit. I went into a slightly unrealistic deficit just because I wanted to rush the process. And then when she came, I actually still managed to stick to that really strict deficit, surprisingly, even though the previous time she had come, I had gotten fat and I was eating a bunch of junk and just being a total glutton. And then I raised my calories by about 300 and made it super easy, but I still kept losing 2 to 3 pounds a week. And I got shredded even when my mother-in-law was here. I was able to question it, because here's the thing. My limiting belief before was, if my mother-in-law is here, I'm going to be eating out a lot, I'm going to get fat. But when she actually came, I kept getting shredded because I changed my limiting beliefs. And that's one thing that a lot of you guys need to do, is you just need to question your limiting beliefs. Literally, you might be 1 or 2 small shifts away from seeing a radically different reality and seeing so much more progress simply by questioning why you think you can't, and then choosing to do what you thought you couldn't do because now you see the evidence for why it might be possible. So my limiting belief was, if my mother-in-law is here, I'm going to be eating out. She's going to be pressuring me to eat food, whatever. Therefore, I'm going to gain a bunch of weight. But I questioned that and said, okay, cool. Let me see if I can hit my macros while she's here. Let me see if I can eat macro-friendly while we go to restaurants. Let me see if I can do a cheat meal once a week like I have all my clients do. But other than that, if we go eat out multiple times a week, stick to the clean eating strategies that I teach my clients. And guess what? It worked for me too. If it works for my clients in their late 40s, and I have, honestly, I'd say 70% of my clients are in their 30s. Actually, no, I'd say 50, 60% are in their 30s. 30 to 40% are in their 40s, and then 10 to 20% are younger than 30 or over 50, right? But anyways, that's a tangent. So I always use the example of the guy in his late 40s, because so many people in their late 40s think that they've expired when they don't even realize that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam became the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at age 40 and led the Ummah Badr and Uhud in his 50s and Khaybar when he was 60. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam changed the world and brought the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. And Allah chose to give it to him, not when he was 20 or 30, but when he was 40, and all these victories happened when he was in his 50s and 60s. And 1400 years after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's death, billions of human beings are going to go to Jannah, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, because of the message that he taught, and that he didn't allow age to be an excuse for him. So you can start tracking your macros. You can start working out. You can start going for a daily morning walk. You can start getting better quality sleep. All the things I teach you. You can start managing your stress better. And I'm not expecting you to figure it out on your own. Why? Because I literally have a YouTube video on every single one of those topics so that you have no excuse. I've given you guys all the info. All you have to do is implement it or join our coaching and we'll help you implement it. But that's it. So anyways, back to the topic at hand. So I was able to question my limiting belief and get results despite what was a previously limit. And I have clients who, for many years for them, travel was a limiting belief. They thought that they couldn't get fit while traveling. Meanwhile, we helped a brother in his 40s, busy executive with 2 kids, crazy high stress. Every quarter, he has to pull a 24-hour shift to finish off the quarter strong, which blows my mind that a man in his 40s can work for 24 hours straight and not sleep. But mashallah, that's the level of work ethic this guy has. But he's a normal human being like you and me. He's a Pakistani brother. He was, overweight for some time. But mashallah, he lost 40 plus pounds and has kept it off for the long term, got off all the meds that he was on, diabetes meds and GLP-1 stuff that his doctor had him on. And mashallah, Allahumma barak. And he had hypothyroid too. But he didn't let that be a limiting belief. He could have easily said, I have hypothyroid, therefore I'm going to be overweight for the rest of my life. I travel and I'm busy and I'm stressed and I have kids, therefore I can be overweight for the rest of my life. But he didn't let that be a limiting belief. What he did was he took action anyways and found a way instead of finding an excuse. See, the difference between winners and losers is that winners find a way to win. Losers find an excuse for why they can't win. And this was the reality that I had to face when I was making excuses that, if I get into a calorie deficit, it's going to mess up my sleep quality and I need to focus on my business. I can't be getting little sleep. No problem. I managed to get into a deficit and still get good quality sleep. So I conquered all my limiting beliefs. This and that, family food, etc. No problem. I brought a food scale to my grandparents' house, and instead of, allowing it to seem like I was being overly restrictive, I used it as an exciting educational opportunity to teach my grandparents about macros. So I literally taught my grandparents about macros, and they loved it, and they were excited about it. And then the next time we went to a restaurant, they were looking at me like, are you going to pull out your scale? And I was like, no, this is my cheat meal. I can eat whatever I want. And then at the end of the meal, my grandma was like, don't worry, you can pick it up tomorrow. I was like, no. The cheat meal is a part of the strategy. I don't have to do anything differently tomorrow. And sure enough, 2 days later, my weight was lower than it was before the cheat meal. Why? Because the cheat meal fits into the overall strategy. And I have more videos on that too. I think one of them reposted from my Instagram. So the point is, this stuff is not as hard as you think it's going to be. But there are going to be some hardships along the journey, and you have to be ready for them. But you also have to realize that you're overthinking this and you're making it way harder than it needs to be. And you're not an overthinker. You're an action taker. You're successful. You already know that overthinking has not helped you in any other area of your life, and that in no other area of your life do you overthink. It's only fitness, where you've heard so much conflicting info. You've tried so many conflicting things that didn't work for you, that were miserable, that nothing has worked for you long term. So that's why I encourage you to try the M3 method. I will, inshallah, attach some more details in the comments section. You can learn about why our program is different and why this is actually going to work so much better for you. But that's not the purpose of the video. Of course, every video we do potentially have a couple people reach out and join our program, but there's also a large percentage of people who don't join our program, and that's okay. Like, I literally want my YouTube alone as a resource to give you the free results that you need, whether it's free results in advance and you eventually join my program, or whether it's you never join my program, maybe you can never afford it or whatever it is. But the YouTube alone, as long as you go through everything and implement it and hold yourself accountable and go at your own pace, that you can still succeed and get the results. So guys, it's all about building that little bit of discipline every single day and questioning the limiting beliefs for why you can't do it. I promise you that if you just question yourself every time that a thought comes to your mind that I can't, or every time that you catch yourself saying I can't, be self-aware about it and ask, well, why not? Why can't I? And then find all the reasons. That's fine. You can acknowledge the reasons why it's a little bit harder for you, but then I want you to ask yourself, what are 1 or 2 reasons why I can? And then focus on those 1 or 2 reasons why you can, and then go do it. That's it. And you're gonna find it's way easier than you ever thought it was. Any excuse that you've had, travel, busy schedule, work, genetics, age, kids, food cravings, this event coming up, that event coming up, you got 10 weddings next week, no problem. Okay, if you got literally 10 weddings next week, which probably nobody actually has 10 weddings coming up next week, you can start the week after that. But you don't have 10 weddings every week. If you have 10 weddings this week and 3 weddings the following week, okay, you don't have to start the week that you have 10 weddings, but start the week that you have 3 weddings. Why? Well, let's do it right now. Let's analyze that limiting belief right now. I can't get fit because I have 3 weddings this week. Okay, great. Why can't I get fit? Well, I can because there are some of these clients that this modern Muslim Munir guy on the internet has who have actually gotten fit despite attending weddings every single week during the summer and achieved their summer fat loss goals. So that's reason number 1 why I can. Reason number 2 why I can is that I'm always going to have family events, weddings, stuff like that at various points of the year. So eventually I'm going to need to learn how to get fit through these things instead of allowing them to always derail me from my progress. So let me learn how, and let me do it the right way by learning professionally from this guy Munir. Boom, easily. So that's the beautiful thing. And same thing with travel. You're always going to have travel. You're always going to have busy seasons of work. So instead of letting that always be a reason why you can't get fit and why you're going to lose all your progress, learn how to work through those things. See, that's the thing. I'm not going to just say, okay, now that I'm fit, my mother-in-law can never visit us again. I have to figure out how to get fit while my mother-in-law is here so that I don't get fit next time that my mother-in-law is here, so she can visit whenever she wants and I don't have to worry about it. So I conquered that limiting belief, and now my family's going to benefit and I'm going to benefit, right? In addition to the fact that getting fitter has made me more energetic, more capable, stronger, better mood, better role model, happier with myself, in integrity with the best version of myself, has translated into being a better father, better Muslim, better businessman, everything. So you have millions of reasons why you can and should do this despite your obstacles. So don't focus on all the reasons why you can't. And even if you had a million reasons why you couldn't, focus on the 5 or 10 or 1 or 2 reasons why you can. And that's what's going to change. And I'll leave you guys with one last thing. You guys know I always remind you about being grateful to Allah. When Allah wills good for someone, he afflicts them with trials. So the trials that you're facing are the exact training grounds that you need to become the mentally strong person you need to be to get the results that you want. So use them for that benefit. Don't let them be something that you are not grateful for that holds you back. Likewise, Surah Ibrahim, ayah 7. If you're grateful to Allah, Allah will give you more. If you're ungrateful, Allah's punishment is surely severe. So if you're ungrateful for the obstacles that you have, then you're only going to suffer from them more severely. But if you are grateful for the obstacles that you have because they're giving you the opportunity to build yourself and overcome them and become the best version of yourself and see crazy results and become mentally stronger, and you know that Allah is training you to become mentally stronger, and you're grateful for those obstacles, Allah is going to give you more results and more blessings. So be grateful, conquer those obstacles. If you need help, let me know. Inshallah, I'll see you guys next video, and I'll attach 2 relevant ones up here, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.